Oh, perfect. This is my wonderful mum, Elizabeth.
Hi.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm okay, thanks. How are you both?
Very good. We live in LA. We're very good.
Well, I love the film and I'm really proud of what you both have done with the film. So my first question is, before I start going into the film, is what inspired you both to start your own film company together and work together? As I know, Elizabeth, you've started in the film industry and that's probably how Isabella got into the film industry.
Well, actually, it's the polar opposite. So Isabella was in it first. So I was a theatre director, and then Isabella ended up getting her first TV show, age 4, and ended up being in film after film after film. And I was on set with her. And it was a case of me really just enjoying being with her. And I was kind of, inspired by what went on. And I thought, well, maybe I could help make something that she could be in. But at no stage did I think I'd be a director or working with her in this capacity. So the first thing I put together for her was a bit of a producing role.
Yeah.
And you were in that film. And I realized how much I enjoyed it and how well we worked together. And someone suggested that I could do this myself. So I did. And then I realized I needed to create something bigger. Something that she could then become part of, something we could put as an umbrella company for her to feel like she had this legacy. But really, it's all your fault.
And that was 9 years ago now, 8 years ago?
Yes, it must be 8 years ago now.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, and we haven't looked back.
Yeah, I love all the films you've done together. It's really good.
Oh,
And do you both find it challenging to manage multiple roles at the same time, such as producing, directing, acting, writing, and much more?
I think it depends on the roles and what the project is. I think there are certain roles that definitely are easier to do at the same time as each other.
Yeah, like you wouldn't first AD and act.
No, oh my goodness, no. And I admire people who can act and direct in their own things properly and doing it well, because that's incredibly hard as well.
And that's about your support around you, isn't it?
Writing and directing works, producing works. Producing and acting at the same time is hard, but not impossible. Again, you need a really good team around you. But
writing and acting works.
Writing and acting works. But I think it depends, although that is hard too, because you have a very clear vision in your head.
True.
But time for calm. But I think it depends on the project and the people around you.
Yeah.
And Isabella, how did you come up with the idea and story for this film? And Elizabeth, did you help in any way with the story?
Well, the idea came about years and years
and you were
ago.
a little girl.
I was
sitting
tiny.
In a car.
I was about 8 or something. Yeah, I was.
Yes.
And we just came up with this concept of karma as a person, and it started as that. And then throughout the years, we've developed the idea and we
worked with different people,
had different creative inputs and kind of done research on what it could be. And then this newest version came up 2 years ago now, when we started this new version. 3 years ago.
I think also it's a case of the concept it's important for people to understand that this is like 35 rewrites. This isn't just there's the idea. And even the last version, we believed we were shooting it in Mississippi, and then that changed. So we had a different budget, so we wrote something to fit that, and then within 4 months, that you're doing something different with different actors, different budgets, different locations. You have to rewrite it.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I think showing people how long from script to screen and then idea to script as well, it was a huge process. But this most new version, that was the one we shot, was a few months from conception to film.
Yes, hard work.
But the idea was about 8 when I was about 8, so it's been a while.
I'm going to ask a follow-up question now. How much of the script changed from the first time before you found out you're going to film a different place to now?
So that most recent version, there were actually quite a few very big changes, character-wise, location-wise,
special effects,
but also just the main journey of the story. I would say most of it changed. 80% of it. I think the only thing that stayed the same were the character names.
No, they'd even changed, I think, at one stage.
Well, I'm purely when we found
bit.
out the location
Yes,
change.
yeah.
But those, I think, were and maybe the name of the town. I think that was all that stayed.
Because you've got to look at budgets. You've suddenly got exploding houses and exploding cars, and you're like, actually, hold on a minute.
We should have the money
Does that fit in this budget?
Yeah. So a lot changed from that. Oh, hang on, we're not shooting it in Mississippi anymore. We've got to film it in LA. A lot changed from that. I would say 95% of it changed.
Mm-hmm.
Was it easier to shoot as you were close to home, and how did you find the locations to film?
Yes, I love shooting close to home. Don't get me wrong, if someone wants to go and put me up in luxury over in Italy, I'm not going to say no. However, when you can be at home and getting up in the morning, I remember one of my earliest films, I was able to bike to set because we shot it in Hermosa Beach where we lived, and that was just divine.
Yeah.
So being able to just get up, drive yourself to set, come home at night, takes away any of that extra preparation that you might need on top of preparing a movie. And then the locations for me were, okay, this is my budget, which is my most important location. And because it's a YA film, I knew the school was. So I went on a big hunt. How could I use a school? Should I use a real school or should I use a studio? What time are we filming this? Because there are going to be kids around. What does that do for the quality of the look? I need to change colors, of the school uniforms or even the exteriors. So a studio really was the only answer for the interior school setting. And that's a studio just up the road here in Chatsworth. Amazing. Teen Wolf was actually filmed there.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And then the exteriors were a different school. But then all the other homes were kind of begged, borrowed, weren't they?
Yeah, people that we know that had great locations and that wanted to help with the project and that knew us. And that was kind of where we pulled in the different houses.
And Carlos's Silver Strand Ranch.
And Silver Strand
Carlos is amazing. He's got this place up further north from here.
Mistake.
Yeah, and he is so great. He, in fact, built a river for us.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
How long did that take him to build?
Well, it was a couple of days because he had to dig it out. And then, and I'll tell you, it's funny, we've got photos of the line producer and the UPM. It's not glamorous. In there, fully entrenched, putting the water in, digging the mud.
Yeah. This is what you have to do on
Thanks, Kenny and Kip.
Yeah, on an indie film, this is what you have to do.
Yeah.
And Elizabeth, what was the hardest or most challenging scene to direct or film?
Good question. It's not the ones with Isabella because she's very easy. Like we're in sync, we're aligned, and there might be a moment of like, well, no, this isn't how I saw it. But that's as far as it gets. So the intimacy
scene wasn't awkward
no,
to direct.
No, because I was literally directing it like, just move your hand a little bit left, put your hand right.
It was technical,
yeah. So
like a dance rehearsal.
Exactly. And also because I know that would be harder for me if I knew another director was directing you.
That's true.
Because I would be, oh gosh, is she all right? Is she all right? I knew you were all right. You'd have told me.
Exactly. You were there.
But the other ones, I don't know, maybe when you've got, 15 pages to shoot in a school in one day with 30 extras, you've got to move from the classroom to the library, back to the classroom, to the locker room. To the hallway. Those were probably just because they were the most fun, but time-wise, I really had to. And we were within a 12-hour day, so it's not that I go overtime either.
How long did it take to film the whole film?
We were 10 or 9 days.
Yeah.
I think I had to go to 9 days because my 10th day, it was originally 10 days, but because of the budget for the school, I had to lose a day so I could afford to put that in my budget. So I did it in 9 days.
That's amazing because most films take a lot longer. So that's really good. And what was the creative decision to have flashbacks in black and white?
Oh. Well, the black and white sepia tone, I think, came later.
Yes, because once you edit it together, you do get a different look and a vibe. And because we wanted to give it that feeling, we could have gone for a vintage lens look or whatever, but you do most of that in post now. And so for us, it just had to be something very specific. And that polar opposite took you back. Everyone just automatically knows it's the past.
But what's interesting is the beauty of the way I had written the flashbacks is that because it was set over one period of time, it wasn't a flashback from this day and then this day.
Yeah.
We could film all of it and then know that actually we could put chunks of it. If we were watching the movie and go, hang on, wait, there's a sleeping there. Wait, we need a longer flashback, longer dream, we had the flexibility to do that. So when we actually filmed the flashback sequence, we filmed everything that we need as if it was a regular scene in the film. And then we were able to cut it up with making sure the length fit, making sure
even
the
with
beats
sound,
fit,
we actually had sound as well in case we needed that. And I think we even do put some of that over it in a weird way. You know, you just need to make sure you've got all the pieces.
Exactly. We had the pieces and we knew that we could put them wherever, and they were written into the script over the dreams sequence, but being able to make sure the exact where it started and where it ended, we had the flexibility to shift that slightly depending on what felt right for the movie, because we'd filmed everything.
I guess it's easier as well to shoot it all in one go. And was the cabin a real place or a set, and was it hard to film in due to be small?
So this is fun. So Carlos, again, shout out to Carlos at Silver Strand Ranch. He built us this cabin. And it is basically a 4x4 cabin, but because he built it, we could take off a corner of the cabin. So you pull that one corner and that's where the camera was able to sit. Now we did have Steadicam inside the cabin, but that corner was kind of our wide. And so it was built, but it was built to be for a film, so we had flexibility with how we were able to film.
But it was so tiny, hot. I mean, up there in Castaic, it can get to 120 degrees, you know.
In Fahrenheit, not Celsius.
Did you have fans and stuff to keep you cooled?
We did, but not in the cabin.
No, because of the noise as well.
And because of the noise.
If you wanted, the generator was already making
if you wanted
noise.
to cool down, you sort of flapped yourself.
Yes.
And what did you use for blood in this film?
Ooh, that was Carrie, our amazing special effects makeup artist. And she we used actual theatre blood for it, because we knew we had to get it on the clothes. And if you're making it, it's going to stain. But if you buy film and theatre blood, it washes out and it's very easy and very manipulatable.
So she was literally there ready, like, add more blood.
I think we had a bucket because she had to paint it and move it. We bought actual theatre blood for that because, and I think we spoke about this with Matt and the kids, but because people used a lot of their own clothes, we needed to make sure that, because we didn't have doubles of everything, that it was not going to stain their clothes. So we had to get proper blood for that.
And speaking of outfits, were the shoes all the cast, or were they ones you found for the cast?
I think it was a combination of both. Anything that had to be bought was thrifted or pulled from a costume kind of warehouse that our costume designer had access to. Bree, she was amazing. But I'd say it was maybe about 50-50. Really,
I think it depends as well how long they were coming in for. Like if there are day players, like all the extras, she had tops and things to give around because of my colour palette. So I'm very big on choosing a colour palette, a theme, a colour for each character, the colour across the board. And also when you're making a YA film, we knew that we wanted those blue and yellow jackets. So she got those specifically made for us for the movie. That was my colour for the school. So anything that's very definite was brought in. The other stuff we would say to people, have you got something on this colour? Have you got something that looks like this?
The nice thing is, because we were also shooting a film in present day, jeans and t-shirts were okay, and generally either people had them or they're quite easy to go and buy from like Target or something.
And people sometimes prefer to wear their own shoes and things.
Because they're already comfortable.
And you both seem like best friends when making films together and in general. But I was wondering, do you ever have disagreements or creative decisions? And if so, how do you resolve them?
I would say we have possibly one on a set when things are out of, not to do with us. There might be some stress that's built up.
It's us against the problem.
So we're kind of going, how do we resolve that? How do we do that? What do we do?
But there's no problems kind of into us.
Well, I just tell you what to do and you do it.
But we go into so much prep beforehand, discussing it and making sure we agree on it, so that when we get on set, we're not having to make decisions and have creative disagreements. But also, we do have our relationship, which is we are mother-daughter, we are best friends, we are actor-director. So we'll make a decision on set, and she rightly comes to me maybe at the end of the day and will say to me, do you know what, there was a decision today, the way you spoke to me was more mother-daughter. She said, I'm actor-director right now. And I was like, no, you're right, I forgot that.
And then when I can do it the same to you. I
Yeah.
say, I'm the director today, I'm not mummy, you know, or
I don't even call you mummy on set
No.
because you don't answer to it. I go, Elizabeth, Mrs.
Yeah.
Director lady.
but then also equals with the creative process. That's we just love that anyway.
Yeah.
So that's
But
exciting.
I think the reason we don't have any arguments creatively is because we make the decisions beforehand.
Yeah.
So mummy and I will sit here and we're in my house and we will brainstorm and create everything that needs to be created, just the two of us, and then we'll bring in our department heads, but making sure that we have the visions planned and plotted out so that we know, great, the departments are doing their jobs. When we get on set, all we'll need to do is solve any bumps that come up, but every decision has already been made, which I think plays a huge part in us not having any strain with each other.
And for both of you, was any part of the story inspired by real life experiences that either of you had? And Isabella, how much of the school portrayed in the film reflects your own school experience?
Oh, well, I do actually make a point to throw in real things into the films that I write. So, for example, the dream that Val talks about having where they were a wizard and they had to defeat the villain, that was a dream I'd had when I was writing that scene. So I thought, you know what, I'll pop it in because that's how I describe that situation. The chocolate and cheese thing is a random fact that I know about dreams. There are a few things that feel very accurate. In fact, Val having a psychology degree, that's my degree. So there are definitely pieces of our lives in our projects, but I think that's what makes a project feel real and grounded. And then as for school, I was actually homeschooled, so I did have 6 weeks of an American high school experience, and I'd say the lockers were about the only close thing in that. But yeah, no, that was for us. We wanted a very stereotypical all-American high school, so that's what we found with that one.
And Elizabeth, what about you, or nothing?
Yeah, no, I was thinking about it. I was like, well, normally I'll try and do, if I'm writing a script with you or we're working on it, it's often a single mum and daughter.
Yeah.
So this was obviously a dad and a mother had died. But I don't think, I mean, I bring in elements of myself when those characters are there, but really this was quite male heavy, actually. Yeah. Rich, Tony, Ed. I mean, it was all the dads that are to blame, so maybe that's something. But and then you, and then the school is definitely, I believe, you know, it's, to me, that is the archetypal American school. So I wanted that look.
That's cool. And were any of the cast you didn't know or have connections with? How did you cast them?
Yeah, well, I'm going to also just quickly say the locker. I just remembered the locker in the opens up at the back so the camera can go through it with that great shot with Pearce. With Max, I was like, oh yeah, that's a really good thing to tell you. But the cast, I mean, a lot of them are based on what do we see for the role. People I've seen in films before, TV shows, I'll go, I like them, I think they're great. You're very good at casting for the right person for the right role, as opposed to who do we just know. Yeah. So that was something I kind of rely on you for, to go, if that's the look you want, that's who we'll go for. Truthful in all senses. So I kind of just relied on you for most of that. Yeah. And it was fun having her friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Isabella, you have a great singing voice. So I was wondering how it is recording the songs and also your previous songs for this film and other songs you've done in the past.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the compliment. I for this movie specifically, for the main title song, It's Coming For You, I actually worked with an amazing co-writer. Shout out to Pete. We're doing a lot of shout outs today.
Yeah, it's good.
Shout out to Pete.
Because it takes more than just us, people.
Exactly. And he produced that for me as well. So he was the very talented producer and co-writer with me on that. And we worked very hard because we knew that the song was for the film. So we put in special things like there's an apple crunching, a backpack zipper, a locker slamming, and a hallway. There's the sneakers on the floor, I think, in there too. So we built the song specifically for the film. Same with the lyrics. We wanted to make them be related to the film, but also you can sing it outside of a movie scenario. So for this one specifically, it was a lot of fun to work on this because it was with a great co-writer.
And this one you were totally, I don't think I gave any input, whereas my other ones where we did just swipe, I said I need one to sound like Meghan Trainor and I need one to sound like Beyonce. So that's as far as my input goes.
But even that, as musicians, we can translate that into what style, how what tempo, what kind of chords, what notes, what key you wanted in. But for the calmer one, we sort of realized like a rock and roll vibe was quite good for it. But then my other music, I do have co-writers on some of my songs. A lot of my songs are just me that I released that aren't related to the movies, because I have my songbook that is basically a journal, and that translates into my music. But I work with incredible producers every time that help me get the song to its best place. So whether that's a lyric change here or there, or a melody change here or there, I try and work with really creative people that can help me get it to a place that maybe I didn't even think it could be.
That's great. And in this film, there's a little bit of bullying. So I was wondering what advice you both have for people being bullied in real life or online.
Yeah, well, I think it's interesting because bullying exists through all the ages. I was actually severely bullied as a grown-up. And so I think it's important for people to feel they've got somebody to talk to, somebody to turn to, get yourself out of the situation if you can, and also to understand that bullying comes in all forms, and actually mental bullying can be worse sometimes, because psychologically you're going, am I believing that? Did that really happen? Have I just made that up? No, it's just me. I'm being silly. And it can take a huge toll on you. And I've learned to take myself out of those situations now and listen to any red flags. We talk about this all the time. If there's a red flag working with someone, we no longer go there.
Well, I think the quote that applies perfectly for us, and then I'll give a little bit of advice for bullying, is when someone shows you who they are the first time, believe them. And for us in a working environment, that's really been helpful to remember, because we're often taught, especially as women in this industry, that you have to just push through and it's fine and keep going. But I think there's a line that applies to normal life bullying and work bullying, whether it's psychological or emotional, that you either are taking yourself out of situation, you're standing up for yourself, or you're getting someone else to help you in the situation. And all three of those things apply, because each situation is different, each person you deal with is different. But I would say to people who are dealing with bullying, if it's school related, or I guess if you're kind of high school age and younger, so under 18, find someone that you can talk to, and go to a grown-up or someone that can actually help, because especially in a school situation or someone who's a similar age, it can be very hard to know what to do, because psychologically our brains aren't formed. My brain still isn't fully formed yet. So I think going to someone in a higher position of power to actually be able to help you, and understanding that can often be the safest kind of road to take. But then if you're a grown-up, which you are, and you're experiencing that, I think it's for you learning. You learn from your experiences, but knowing that actually, I think having someone who can help you and protect you in that situation is also very important. Would you agree?
Yeah, it's a very tough one. I mean, that's a whole different conversation, really, because it's so serious.
But knowing that you don't have to deal with it by yourself, I think, is kind of the through line for this, is you don't have to process it by yourself. You don't have to just take it. It's not just part of life. It's being able to go, actually, you know what, this isn't, identifying it first, this isn't okay, and then knowing that you can go and talk to someone about it. I think that's the most important through line there.
That's great advice. And I think it's good as well, because I've also been bullied as well in the past. And do either of you know when viewers can watch from other countries, like England or other countries? When will it be out?
Well, we know that after the Zumo run, it will be on all streaming services.
August 3rd or something.
It's like, yeah, it's 3 months from when it was released, so kind of beginning of August. But we have to confirm which countries that goes into. But it will be on other streaming services after the first 3 months.
That's great, because I know lots of people are wanting to watch it. And my next question is a sort of three-part question. So my first thing's for Elizabeth. Could you share any upcoming projects you're working on? And additionally, what is the next project you're both collaborating on together? And Isabella, will you be writing any more scripts?
Love it. Okay, so I would say my
long one.
next project is I've got something coming out on Pureflix, which is called Shadrach, which is a lovely TV show. It's a bit of a Little House on the Prairie. It's a, if anybody remembers that or has Googled it, it's a really lovely family TV show. That's the beginning of July. Then I also have 2 films that I'm now working on. One I'll be directing probably beginning of September, end of September, which is a very exciting personal project to me. And then we are writing a couple of others over the next few weeks that we've kind of been formatting and working on. But then I have a couple of thrillers that I've been asked to direct, so we're just waiting for start dates for those.
And then for me, and we're working on those, producing together on all of those. And then for me, writing personally, I've got 2 films that I'm writing that are kind of my little babies and passion projects that we'll be working on as well.
Which one was it?
That is the rom-com.
Oh yeah. Oh, I was like, which one's it?
Basically, it's a rom-com and a coming-of-age story.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see them all. And I know Isabella believes in karma, but do you, Elizabeth?
Do you know, I do. I feel like, though, that it doesn't necessarily come around in this lifetime. And so sometimes it's very difficult to think, hold on, how is that person who's being so horrible to people being so successful? Well, maybe it's a different life that they're going to get their karma, which is hard for us as humans in this time frame. But I do believe if you just put good stuff out there, then it makes you feel good anyway. And maybe we don't even need to worry about karma. You don't need to worry about other people.
Well, and I said,
good stuff.
And I said as well, sometimes you see it where there's really good people getting things where you go, where is this coming from? And you can only assume it's from a past life.
Yes, true.
But if you're kind to others, people will be kind back to you.
Exactly.
And also, I was wondering, I think the film was originally going to be called Karma's a Bitch. So I was wondering, was the name changed due to the swearing, or was it another reason?
Yes, it was. The algorithms on streaming platforms won't push titles with curse words in them, which is understandable. So we changed it to be related to the town. But we actually did a lot of work to pick a new title because we didn't want it to give away the main story. We didn't want it to give away any reveals that happened. So we ended up settling on this one. And we
changed it from like there was going to be murder at Latigo. We didn't want murder because then everyone knows what it's about. But a death, you
could be anything. Yeah. So we went through a few versions, but yes, it was because of the curse word.
And Isabella, I recently learned that you worked with Awareness Ties. Could you share more about that?
Absolutely. So Awareness Ties, I believe they Aware Now Media now.
They are
Aware Now Media, and they are a beautiful non-profit that work with different ambassadors for different subject matters. So you are the ambassador for child trafficking awareness, and I'm the ambassador for suicide awareness. And my goal is to really help break down the stigma behind mental health and suicide, because I think the concept of mental health and struggling isn't spoken about enough in a normal conversational way. And I was actually explaining this to someone the other day, that mental health is equally as important as physical health and can be talked about in the same way. Oh, I've broken my arm. Oh, I have depression. And I think discussing things in that way and making it more normal will make people feel like they can talk about their problems more frequently, and hopefully then help with bringing down suicide rates.
We actually have done 2 films related to this. The first one was Broken Wings. Yeah. Well, we first made a tiny little one ourselves called Stones in Her Pockets, which is on our
I edited
on our YouTube, I think. Like you were like 9.
Yeah.
And then we did Broken Wings, which was about bullying and depression and suicide for like a 10-12-year-old. And then we did Sand Angels.
Yeah.
That was for a 14 to 15-year-old.
And the through line there is consistent with what I'm saying, which is being able to talk to someone can have a huge impact. Something as simple as someone on the outside knowing the signs and being able to talk to someone and say, hey, are you okay? Because sometimes that's all it takes for someone to feel safe to discuss their feelings. But also from the other perspective, knowing actually it's okay to talk to people about it, and it's okay to not be okay.
And do you find it hard to do stories with that subject matter in?
I think hard from a level of you want to make sure you're portraying a story honestly and also not glamorizing anything. But not hard from a level of I want to make sure the conversation still happens. So I think it's 50-50 on both sides of the screen.
And lastly, what advice do you both have for those looking to get into directing, script writing, or other behind the scenes roles in the film and TV industry?
Just do it. I mean, seriously, it's literally, you've got iPhones now, which we didn't have in the beginning. You want to write a script. None of this just, I want to do this, I'm going to talk about it, because I can assure you, the minute you start, you go, oh, that's why that doesn't work. Oh, that's why that costs that. Oh, that takes that amount of time. Literally, get 2 friends in a room with your iPhone. Practice, light things, look at the way the camera moves, see if you've got a story, show your 2-minute thing to friends. Do they like it? Were they bored? Was the acting any good? Because also, if you might try it and go, actually, I don't really like directing. Yeah. I thought I did, and that's not my jam. Or I thought I really would like acting, but actually I prefer being on the other side of the camera. I consider that I put myself through film school for the last 7 years, and I've made 25 features, and I've, sold them all. And now I know what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. So, you've just got to start.
Just like Nike, just do it.
That's what I was thinking. And Isabella, I like your poster behind you of the Secret Society. Yeah. I love that film. It was really good.
I haven't figured out how to put it on my wall yet, because you can't put nails into it. It's sort of fake wood. So currently it's leaning against the wall, but one day it will be up in my house.
Well, thank you very much for doing this interview. I think it's great learning how much of the process it's taken from the start to the finish of this film and your other projects. And it was great chatting with you. And I believe it's on Xumo Plays.
It is correct. Xumo Play, XUMO, and it's available for everybody in the US.
What? But it will be everywhere.
Yes.
It will be everywhere.
But thank you for amazing questions. I had so much fun chatting to you.
Welcome. I hope to chat to you both in the future for your next projects or films as well.
Absolutely, 100%. You can count on it.
Thanks. Bye. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.